Hello science fans and welcome to SHE-ensya's Corner. Here we kick back, relax, and talk about science events that are exciting, scary, or fun in the life of your resident Filipino scientist. It's March 6, science fans. I am Shana Camille Vinci Cruz Abeledo, your resident Filipino scientist, and welcome to episode 15 of SHE-ensya's Corner. So this week in quarantine, we've had a semi-successful landing of SpaceX's Starship rocket. We've had the first batch of COVID-19 vaccinations here in the Philippines. And we are also celebrating National Women's Month. So an update on the SpaceX Starship program. So here at SHE-ensya, we discussed the SpaceX Starship program about a month ago when they tested another landing of the Starship rocket. This landing failed because of the inability of the rocket to right itself and refire its engines on time so that it can slow down before landing. Being able to successfully land is crucial to the reusable rocket program, especially if it is to carry live cargo like humans and animals. And given that our smartphones already have a higher processing power than the rocket that brought us to the moon, the technology behind the reusable rocket program is more to make the flights safe, sustainable, and environmentally friendly. Science fact: SpaceX is actually already able to land some of its rockets on a barge, specifically the Falcon 9 rocket.
Wow!
Falcon 9 is SpaceX's signature rocket that was the first booster that became reusable. It has launched a total of 105 times, has safely landed 66 times, and has been reused successfully for 48 times. Falcon 9 has mainly been used to launch satellites and deliver cargo to the International Space Station. But a Falcon 9 rocket flew its first human crew on May 30, 2020 with the SpaceX NASA Demo 2 flight. Starship, on the other hand, is a two-stage heavy-lift launch vehicle that is made up of Starship and the Super Heavy booster rocket. SpaceX has designed the Starship spacecraft to service missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond, with different configurations for different purposes. The spacecraft will come in crew, cargo, tanker, deep space, and lunar lander configurations. And Elon Musk wants to use the Starship rocket to land the first human on Mars within the decade. It was actually pretty exciting to see the SpaceX Starship prototype blast off from southern Texas last March 3, 2021. It climbed to an altitude of 6 miles, tipped over on its side as planned, and plunged back to Earth in a high-altitude swan dive, flipping back vertical and then successfully landing near the launch pad. But a few minutes later, it exploded in a spectacular fireball. It was the company's third high-altitude Starship test flight and its first successful landing. But the rocket came to rest with a slight tilt and fire at its base. So it wasn't surprising that a few minutes later, it blew up and spread flaming debris all over the landing site. But this was still a major development for the reusable rocket program, and we are one step closer to affordable space travel. In other news, we have begun COVID-19 vaccinations in the Philippines as 600 doses of Coronovac arrived last February 28, 2021. Dr. Gerardo Legaspi, the director of the Philippine General Hospital in Manila, received the first dose of the vaccine developed by China-based Sinovac Biotech Limited. And the Philippines is expecting to receive 1,000 doses more of Sinovac's vaccine by the third week of March, after we finish signing the purchase order with the Chinese firm. Science fact: but what do we know about China's vaccine, and how do they compare to the other vaccines being developed elsewhere? Coronovac works by using killed viral particles to expose the body's immune system to the virus without risking a serious disease response. By comparison, the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines use mRNA. This means part of the coronavirus genetic code is injected into the body, triggering the body to begin making viral proteins, but not the whole virus, which is enough to train the immune system to attack. On paper, one of Sinovac's main advantages against the other type of vaccines is the possibility of storing it at a regular refrigerator with temperatures ranging from 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, similar to the vaccine that was developed in Oxford using a genetically engineered virus. Moderna's vaccine needs to be stored at negative 20 degrees Celsius and Pfizer's vaccine at negative 70 degrees Celsius. This means that both Sinovac and the Oxford-Astrazeneca vaccines have greater potential in helping developing countries who might not be able to store large amounts of vaccines in very low temperatures. But it is the effectiveness of Coronovac that is hard to judge at this point. Coronovac has been undergoing phase 3 trials in various countries. Partial data from Turkey and Indonesia indicate effectiveness from 91.25% to slightly more than 60% respectively. Researchers in Brazil, on the other hand, initially said it was 78% effective in their clinical trials, but in January 2021, revised that figure to 50.4% after including more data in their calculations. There is a lot of uncertainty at this point, but we trust the science. And as some of our medical practitioners are saying, a good vaccine is the available one. And this month is National Women's Month. And this 2021 celebration is a tribute, a platform, and a call to action to celebrate the exemplary contributions of everyday Filipinas as trailblazers of change in the Philippine society. The celebration traces its roots in different movements in the 1900s, particularly in the United States of America, where garment workers fought for their economic rights and fair work hours. In 1911, the first International Women's Day was celebrated on March 19. But this changed when a tragical event happened on March 25, when 140 women workers died in a fire in a factory in New York City. This brought to light unfair labor practices and unsafe working conditions for women workers and led to several rallies. And so in Europe, the Socialist Women's International Conference recommended March 8 to be the International Women's Day, not only to commemorate the women workers in the New York fire, but also to lobby issues concerning women. And in 1975, the United Nations formally designated this day to celebrate the achievements of women all over the world and to propel change in terms of gender equality. This year's campaign is unique because it has the COVID-19 pandemic as a backdrop, which has posed challenges as well as opportunities for women all over the world. Hence, this year's observance highlights women's participation in battling the pandemic as well as discusses gender issues exacerbated by the pandemic. It is the time to delve deeper into gender issues that became more apparent because of our current health crisis. It's also a time to celebrate the women who have found means to thrive in current conditions, and also to make stronger our support systems to help our fellow women break glass ceilings all over the world. Mabuhay ang kapwa ko babae. Mabuhay ang mga Pilipina sa buong mundo. And that's it for SHE-ensya's Corner this week. For more updates about the goings-on in SHE-ensya and your resident Filipino scientist, please follow SHE-ensya on Facebook and SHE-ensya on Instagram. You can also drop by our website at www.sheensya.com. You can also follow my personal Instagram account at chona.abiledo. I hope you were able to enjoy and learn something from our episode of SHE-ensya's Corner this week. If you did, I hope you can give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please don't hesitate to message me, your resident Filipina scientist, in the comments section below. Thank you very much and see you around!